What is Israeli normalization? The term describes pursuing policies or actions that treat Israel and the Israeli people as a normal part of the Middle East without holding them accountable for the past and ongoing crimes against the Palestinian people. On the official level, Egypt was the first Arab country to normalize relations with Israel in 1979. In return, Egypt got back the Sinai Peninsula, which was captured by Israel in the 1967 war. Jordan followed suit 15 years later, opening up new sources of urgently needed economic and military aid from the West. Then, on August 13th, the United Arab Emirates became the third Arab country to officially normalize relations with Israel. Unlike Egypt and Jordan, the UAE does not share a border with Israel, nor has it fought wars against it. So this was not a peace deal, but a full recognition of Israel in return for bilateral relations in different sectors without securing any gains for the occupied Palestinian people. The historic Arab commitment to the Palestinians has been defined primarily as a pan-Arab concern, but many Arab leaders did not subscribe to that and have carried out covert relations with Israel dating back decades. In the 1950s, Morocco's King Hassan II sought out his nation's self-interest and did not want to be part of Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser's vision of pan-Arabism. Unofficial cooperation between Israel and Morocco had been going on for decades, including Israel training Moroccan intelligence agents. Likewise, under the leader Habib Bourguiba, Tunisia in the 50s had opposed Arab nationalism and sought agricultural training from Israel to boost its agrarian sector. Bourguiba's successor, Zain al-Abidin bin Ali, allowed Israel to open an office in Tunisia in 1996, and a Tunisian bureau was established in Tel Aviv. Following Sudan's independence, Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Khalil and Golda Meir held a clandestine meeting in Paris in 1957. More recently, in February of this year, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who heads Sudan's Transitional Sovereign Council, met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for talks in Uganda. This led to Netanyahu announcing that the two leaders had agreed to cooperate towards normalizing ties, which the Sudanese cabinet later denied. And long before he signed the 1994 treaty with Israel, King Hussein of Jordan had authorized the first secret meetings between one of his army generals and the Israelis in Jerusalem in 1960. By 1963, he himself was meeting with Israelis secretly at his doctor's office in London. In the mid-1970s, his covert meetings with Israeli leaders would take place regularly inside Israel. In recent years, Saudi Arabia and the UAE had been engaged with top Israeli professionals to procure high-tech security systems to spy on dissidents and activists. According to the Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics, Israeli exports of goods and services to the Middle East and North Africa markets are estimated at a total of about $7 billion annually, including more than $1 billion from the Gulf countries. Following the UAE agreement with Israel, Bahrain and Oman have both voiced approval for this move, leading some to speculate that they could be next in normalizing relations. While these regimes believe that normalization with Israel helps them protect their security and brings them closer to the United States, the Arab public opinion still refuses by a large majority to recognize Israel without a just cause for the Palestinians.